If you hear a voice in the background, it's just my wife shouting into a Zoom meeting. Hello and welcome back to Bookish, and welcome to a topic discussion video I've been seeing bouncing around BookTube for the last couple of weeks. I saw a video over at Ali Criminali's channel, asking, should writers be able to write about different groups of people. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, and then I saw Ann and Annabella answer kind of the same question, and I had kind of talked about this in a video I made a while back about unpopular bookish opinions. And so I thought I would address it again here, because even though I tried to address some of the things I meant in the comment section on that video, and then I think even talked about it in a Saturday Hodgepodge video, I wanted to make sure I talked about it again here. Now that I've kind of seen other people's comments, I've seen these other videos, which I'll link down below, of course, and kind of want to make sure I refine my thoughts as carefully as possible here. Now, I know, having said that, based on whatever my thumbnail looks like, other people are going to come here with ideas about what I'm saying, but I am going to try to be as clear as possible. So, first of all, on the question of should writers be able to write about, groups of people they don't belong to, writers should be able to write about whatever they want to write about. And if you are a self-published author, you should feel free to publish whatever you want to publish. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I mean, even, in the case of a virulent racist, I would support their right to write and publish whatever they chose to. I would. Would I buy it? No. Would I want a reputable publisher to publish it? Absolutely not. And that gets to the next two parts of this question, because the question really isn't, in my mind, should writers be limited in what they can write? It really is, what should publishers choose to publish when weighing one book over another based on a certain topic, and what should readers choose to read? That really is more, I think, the issue. And again, I'm just going to say publishers can publish whatever they want to. From my point of view, if we're talking about a book written about the African American experience in the United States by a white person, and that publisher has an opportunity to write a book about the African American experience written by an African American person, then I would rather they choose the Own Voices author. I think that there is an authenticity there. I think there is a value in promoting Own Voices authors so that people get a chance to read books and to read ideas that come from the people who've experienced the things the book's about. I just do. That's how I wish that that's the direction I wish publishers would err. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say is publishers should just publish the best book. But the idea that publishers can pick out the absolute best book and only publish those is incredibly naive. Publishers don't publish what they think might be the best book only. Oftentimes they publish the book they think will have the most commercial success, or they have some other reason why they choose the books that they're publishing. So this idea that publishers shouldn't use Own Voices as a criteria by which to judge which books they publish just seems absolutely silly to me. Publishers make those decisions all the time. If you're an author and you want to write, you should write whatever you want to. If you want to self-publish it, feel free to do so. And then also, I think that the other part of this question is what should readers choose to read? And again, I'm going to say you should choose to read whatever you want to read. From my point of view, for me, I would rather read an Own Voices authored book than a book authored by somebody who is not a part of that group. If I'm going to read a book about trans people in the United States of America, I would much rather hear that story told by a trans person, because I believe they have insights into that experience that a non-trans person just isn't going to have, isn't going to fully understand, and I'm not sure you can arrive at those things through research. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I'm not sure that you can. So, that would be my choice about what to read. So, since I've told you kind of what I think, and that is that people should write whatever they want to, and publishers should publish whatever they want to, and the readers should read whatever they want to, and then I've told you what I would choose, and what, in the last two situations, what I would choose, then let me tell you and make sure I'm clear about what I am and am not talking about. Okay, so I am talking about an author who writes a book which attempts to convey the experience of a group of people to which they do not belong, experiences which they themselves have not had, that are unique perhaps to that group of people. In that case, I think those are stories that are best left to authors who come from those groups of people. For me, I think an author, in some cases, has to have experienced the thing that they're writing about. And whenever I mention that, people go, oh, well, then there can't be any fantasy, and there can't be any sci-fi. You know, let's not pretend we don't know what we're talking about. You know, it's okay for anyone to write something from the point of view of an elf or a dwarf or a fairy or an orc, because those things, those those individuals are not real. Those don't exist. So there is no one who's really had that experience, who's really able to give that insight. So please understand, we're not talking about not being able to write fantasy or sci-fi. I'm also not talking about men writing about women or women writing about men. And one reason why I don't have this kind of prohibition in most of these cases is because men and women oftentimes create pair bonds and they go through things together. They experience things closely. And therefore I believe men and women have insights into one another that are not necessarily the same, shared in the same way across cultural lines or racial lines, etc. So I don't see anything wrong with a male author writing about and even having their books center around women characters. As long as, and this is just me, as long as what they have those women going through is not something that is almost exclusively specific to women. In addition to this doesn't mean that white authors can't have characters in their books who are not white. Of course, that's not what it means. But again, for my preference would be, if they're going to be writing about the experience of being black, of being Hispanic, of being an Asian American, then I would prefer that the author be from that group. I would prefer to read the story from the own voice's author. And to be honest with you, and part of this came up, and I think I discussed this a little bit when I was talking about R.F. Kuang's book, Yellowface. Part of this comes up, and one of the things I think that book does very well is it looks at the motivation. Why would a white author want to write a book from the point of view of, Asian characters, which, attempts to convey something about the feeling or the experience of Asian characters? What is the motivation there? Now, and if you've read a Yellowface, that motivation is not a particularly good one. But, in any situation, I personally might question the motivation there. Why is this being done? Why is this the book this white author decided to write? Why is this the book? Why did a black author decide to write a book about, indigenous Americans and their experience? Again, let's go back to number one. Did I say they can't write those books? I did not. Write the book if you want to. But for me, I wonder why. Why is that the story you want to tell? What is the motivation for telling that story? Now, whenever I did the video before, and I've seen this come up in other people's comments and responses to me, there are two, I think, kind of classic examples that people oftentimes bring up of authors writing about groups of people that they don't belong to from the point of view of those people. One of those is James Baldwin Giovanni's Room. Now, in James Baldwin Giovanni's Room, the main character, David, is white. He is a white gay man struggling with his sexuality. And people point this out all the time. Was it okay for Baldwin to write about a white man? And I would just point out that the experience he's really writing about is not the experience of being a white man. He's writing about the experience of being a gay man. And James Baldwin was gay. So to me, that's not an example of someone writing a book from the experience of a group of people they don't belong to. Rather, it's quite the opposite. I think Baldwin made the decision not to have David be a black character because it kind of just complicated things and took him out of the story he wanted to tell, which was the struggle of a young man coming to grips with his sexuality. And the other case people bring up is Harriet Beecher Stowe writing Uncle Tom's Cabin. And there's no doubt that Uncle Tom's Cabin is historically important. Is one of those kind of events and one of those books which was so popular and so many people read, and undoubtedly I think helped to kind of shift people outside the South's view of slavery, that it is in fact an important book. At the same time, I don't think anybody really feels like the portrayal of enslaved black people in that book is accurate to the reality of what those people experience. And I would say, if you really want to know about the experience of enslaved black people in the United States during the time of slavery, that slave narratives themselves are the things to read. 12 Years a Slave and Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. These books will give you that experience in a much better way than Stowe's. As a matter of fact, the popularity of Stowe's book in comparison to the popularity of the book by Frederick Douglass's book, the popularity of one compared to the other is a product of racism. That for whatever reason, white readers, well, not for whatever reason, racism, because of racism, white readers embrace Stowe's book in a way that they wouldn't embrace books written by black people. Anyway, there you go. I hope this is clear. Now that at the end I feel like it's less clear, but anyway, I look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and as always, thank you for watching.